lazier you are at these 6 things, the more joyful your later years will be. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to become more content, more at peace as they grow older, while others carry heavier burdens of stress and regret? It's not always about circumstances or luck. In fact, the real secret to a joyful life in your later years might surprise you. It's not about doing more, but about doing a little less. That's right. In certain areas of life, the less effort you give, the more freedom and happiness you might actually gain. In this video, we're going to explore 6 surprising things that, when you stop trying so hard, can bring you more clarity, fulfillment, and emotional peace as you age. These simple mindset shifts could completely transform the way you approach growing older and help you embrace a life that feels lighter, richer, and far less complicated. And make sure you stay until the very end, because the last one is perhaps the most powerful and freeing truth of them all. Most people overlook it, but once you hear it, you'll never see aging the same way again. Control less, live more. Now, let's move on to point number 1. The lazier you are at trying to control everything, the more peace you'll invite into your life. In our younger years, many of us were taught that being in control was a sign of strength. We worked hard, planned ahead, anticipated every outcome, and maybe back then, that mindset helped us succeed in our careers, raise families, and navigate a busy world. But as we enter the later chapters of life, holding on too tightly to control can quietly turn into a burden. Have you noticed how some older adults seem constantly tense? They get frustrated when the remote isn't where they left it. They worry about what their grown children are doing, even when there's nothing more they can do. They try to control how others behave, how things should go, even how the world should change. That quiet pressure to control every detail, every outcome, every emotion, it builds up over time. And it doesn't bring peace. It brings fatigue. It brings disappointment. It brings stress that the body can no longer carry the way it once did. Richard, a retired postal worker in Indiana, used to live this way. At 73, he found himself obsessing over small things. He couldn't relax unless every item in his kitchen was perfectly organized. He felt uneasy if his grandchildren didn't call every Sunday at 5 p.m. sharp. His blood pressure stayed high, his sleep was light and broken, and he rarely smiled without thinking about what still needed to be fixed. But here's what changed his life. His doctor, noticing the toll this tension was taking on his health, introduced him to a concept backed by research from Harvard Health: psychological flexibility, the ability to let go of what you cannot control, to stop fighting what is outside your reach, to choose peace over perfection. Studies have shown that older adults who practice acceptance and reduce their need to control every aspect of life experience lower cortisol levels, more stable blood pressure, and even better heart function. In one particular study, seniors who embraced this mindset saw a 30% drop in stress-related symptoms within months. Dr. Laura Bennett, a geriatric psychologist from Oregon, puts it simply: when you release the need to control, she says, you don't lose power. You gain clarity. You stop wasting energy on things you can't fix and start using that energy to enjoy the life you still have. Richard began making small changes. He started by allowing a little disorder in his routine. He said yes when his daughter suggested an impromptu weekend visit, even though it wasn't on the calendar. He stopped correcting how others loaded the dishwasher. It sounds simple, but those changes freed him. His sleep improved. He laughed more. He even began painting again, something he hadn't done in over 20 years. So let me ask you this. Are there things in your life right now that you're holding on to too tightly? Are you exhausted from trying to make everything go exactly the way you want? What would happen if, just for today, you let go of the schedule and followed the sunshine instead? If this message is speaking to you, I invite you to comment below with the words, "I'm learning to let go." Let's start a conversation in the comments. You might be surprised how many others feel the same. And if you find value in this reflection, consider liking this video so it reaches someone else who may need to hear it. Share it with a friend or loved one who could use more peace in their days. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, Golden Wise Elders. We're building a space where wisdom, kindness, and calm come together, just like this moment. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about giving yourself permission to live gently. And often, that's where the true strength begins. What you carry in your heart, your body remembers. Number 2, the lazier you are about holding on to regret, the lighter your spirit becomes. There's a quiet kind of suffering that often settles in with age. It doesn't shout. It whispers. In the stillness of an afternoon or the silence before sleep, it returns. Those memories we wish we could rewrite. Words we shouldn't have said. Opportunities we missed, people we lost or let go of too soon. Regret for many becomes a shadow that grows longer with time. But here's the thing most people don't realize. Regret isn't just a feeling. It's a habit. One that, when repeated over and over in the mind, begins to affect the body in ways we don't see until we feel them. Dr. Daniel Levitin, a neuroscientist at McGill University, studied how the aging brain processes memory and emotion. His research shows that the more seniors ruminate over past mistakes, the faster their cognitive functions decline. It's not just emotional pain, it's biological wear. And the science backs this up. Neuroscience journals have shown that persistent regret increases cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Over time, elevated cortisol levels can lead to inflammation, weaken the immune system, disrupt sleep, and impair memory. In other words, when we can't forgive our past, our body lives in it, day after day. Let me tell you about Eleanor, an 84-year-old woman from Ohio. For years, she carried the weight of a decision she made in her 40s, choosing to work instead of being home with her children. "I miss too much," she used to say. "They'll never forget that I wasn't there." This thought haunted her for decades. It stole her rest, clouded her relationships, and slowly eroded her joy. But 3 months ago, something shifted. Her therapist encouraged her to write a letter to her younger self, not to change what happened, but to offer her forgiveness. Eleanor resisted at first, but when she finally wrote the letter, she cried, and then she slept. A deep, healing sleep she hadn't felt in years. Over time, her energy improved. Her conversations with her grandchildren became more relaxed. Her memory, which had begun to slip, started returning in surprising ways, all because she gave herself the grace to move forward. Forgiveness is not about excusing what happened. It's about freeing yourself from reliving it every day. And maybe that's what laziness really means in this case. The willingness to stop digging up old wounds. The courage to sit in the present moment and say, "This is where I am." And that's enough. So I ask you this gently. Are there moments from your past that still hold you captive? Is there something you haven't forgiven yourself for? What if today you allowed yourself to rest? Not just your body, but your mind. If this resonates with you, take a moment to share in the comments below. You can simply write, "I'm ready to let go." Or if you feel moved, tell us what you're learning to forgive. Your words may help someone else breathe easier today. You deserve peace, not someday, not if, but now. And sometimes peace begins with a whisper. I did my best. You don't owe your life to their expectations. I will reveal to you point number 3. The lazier you are about worrying what others think, the more you'll start to live for yourself. Forgiving the past is a powerful step toward peace. But there's something else that often stands between us and the life we truly want to live, the invisible weight of other people's opinions. It's subtle. It shows up when we second guess what we wear, how we speak, or what we post online. It whispers when we want to say no but feel guilty. It creeps in when we're about to make a choice for ourselves. Then stop, wondering, what will they think? At 68, Margaret, a retired librarian in Seattle, had spent most of her life being the nice one. She dressed the way others expected, bit her tongue at family dinners, and stayed silent when her needs weren't met. "I didn't want to cause waves," she said. "I thought that made me kind." But kindness without boundaries isn't kindness, it's self-erasure. Margaret began experiencing frequent anxiety, tightness in her chest, racing thoughts, even moments of forgetfulness. Her doctor ran tests but found nothing physically wrong. It was emotional exhaustion. She was living too much of her life for everyone else and too little of it for herself. Here's where the science comes in. A recent study from Yale University followed older adults who consciously shifted away from living under social pressure. The results? Clear improvements in mental health, self-esteem, and cognitive clarity. Participants reported less depression, stronger communication, and even better memory recall, simply because they stopped tailoring their lives to meet other people's expectations. But there's a warning here too. According to the American Psychological Association, seniors who are overly concerned with external validation, how they're perceived, judged, or talked about, are at significantly higher risk of developing generalized anxiety disorder. That means more restless nights, more health problems, and fewer joyful moments. So what's the way forward? It doesn't mean shutting people out. It means tuning in, listening to your own inner compass before listening to the crowd. It means choosing the clothes that make you feel good, speaking honestly even when it's uncomfortable, and no longer apologizing for your joy. Margaret began small. She stopped dyeing her hair. She joined a local painting group, despite never having painted before. She even said no to friends' holiday trip, choosing instead to spend Christmas quietly with her sister. And for the first time in decades, she said she felt like herself. It's not selfish to live authentically. It's healthy and necessary and deeply, beautifully liberating. So now, I invite you to pause and reflect. Has the fear of judgment ever stopped you from doing something you love? Are there choices you've delayed because of what someone else might say? If your heart is quietly whispering, it's time, then type in the comments below. I deserve to live for myself. Let those words be your first act of courage today. And if this story speaks to you, if it reminds you of your own journey or someone you care about, please consider liking this video. It helps the message reach more people who need it. Share it with someone who's ready to stop living small. And if you haven't yet, we warmly invite you to subscribe to Golden Wise Elders, where growing older means growing freer, not quieter. Because in the end, no one remembers the approval you chased. They remember the life you dared to live. You can't fix people, but you can free yourself. Let's move on to point number 4. The lazier you are about trying to change others, the more you begin to heal yourself. Living for yourself is a beautiful start, but even when we stop chasing approval, there's often one habit that lingers deep within: the urge to change others. We want our children to make better decisions, our spouse to be more patient, our siblings to finally say sorry. And sometimes our intentions come from love. We just want things to be better, smoother, healthier. But let me share a truth that many of us only learn after years of frustration. You cannot change anyone who isn't ready to change. Dr. Alan Bernstein, a family therapist who's worked with aging couples in Florida for over 30 years, says it clearly. You can offer insight, you can share love, you can invite growth, but transformation, that's a door only they can choose to walk through. The cost of trying to force it? Far more than we imagine. The Mayo Clinic has studied the physiological effects of emotional stress caused by interpersonal tension. Their findings show that individuals, especially seniors, who repeatedly attempt to fix others often experience spikes in blood pressure, irregular heart rhythms, and higher levels of adrenaline and cortisol. Over time, this wears down the cardiovascular system, weakens immunity, and shortens lifespan. In simpler words, the more we try to manage others, the more we damage ourselves. Take the story of Frank, a 77-year-old widower from Colorado. For years, Frank tried to get his son to quit smoking, manage his money better, and attend church again. Every conversation turned into an argument. Every phone call ended with tension. Frank's health declined. He felt unheard, angry, and helpless. It wasn't until his daughter gently said, "Dad, maybe what he needs isn't fixing. Maybe he just needs to be loved where he is." That something clicked. Frank began focusing on his own peace. He started hiking again, joined a morning coffee group, and stopped pushing advice that wasn't asked for. The change didn't happen overnight, but something beautiful occurred. His son started calling more often. Conversations became lighter, and for the first time in years, Frank said, "We laugh again." Because sometimes, when we stop trying to change people, we create space for connection, and even if they never change, we do. We become softer, less reactive, more rooted in peace. So take a moment with me. Is there someone in your life you're still trying to change? A person you wish would finally listen, finally understand, finally become who you hope they'd be? If your heart whispered yes, know that you're not alone. And if you feel ready, I invite you to comment below. I'm learning to let go and heal myself. Together, let's begin that healing. Let's stop carrying what isn't ours to fix, because healing isn't about changing them. It's about releasing you. When you stop chasing love, it has a chance to find you. Next to number 5, the lazier you are about chasing people who don't value you, the more energy you keep for those who truly do. Letting go of the need to change others is one of life's greatest freedoms, but sometimes what's even harder is letting go of the people who never really made space for us in the first place. We all have that one person, or maybe several, we've kept reaching for. Calling first, texting again, making plans, extending kindness, hoping they'd notice, or just show up the way we hope they would. But here's something that takes time and courage to admit. If someone makes you chase them constantly, they were never really walking beside you. This is not about blame. It's about energy, emotional energy, because the longer you run after people who don't appreciate your presence, the less you have left for the ones who quietly treasure it. Linda, 72, from Sacramento, spent years trying to keep her extended family connected. She organized reunions. She sent birthday cards. She always made the first move. But after her husband passed, something shifted. Fewer calls came. Fewer invitations. One day, After her third unanswered voicemail to her nephew, she sat down, looked at the quiet room around her, and whispered to herself, "I'm tired." And that tiredness isn't just emotional. A study published by the American Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry revealed that older adults who feel socially excluded or emotionally undervalued are twice as likely to experience depression, elevated blood pressure, and weakened immune responses. Dr. Emily Roth, a senior care specialist in North Carolina, puts it plainly. Constantly pursuing one-sided relationships creates chronic emotional fatigue, and that fatigue slowly becomes physical. Linda decided to stop. She stopped chasing. She stopped organizing events where people didn't show, and instead she turned her attention to her neighbor, who always brought her soup when she was sick, her church friend, who checked in without being asked, her book club, her new circle. She said, "When I stopped chasing love, I started receiving it." You see, there are people in your life right now who notice when you're quiet, who miss you when you're not around, but you may never see them clearly until you stop running after those who don't. It's not abandonment, it's alignment. So take a moment with me. Are there people in your life who only call when they need something, who forget your kindness, your birthdays, your presence? What would it feel like to stop running? If that speaks to your heart, share in the comments below. I'm done chasing. I'm ready to be seen. And if you feel this message could lighten someone else's emotional load, please like this video, share it gently with someone you care about, and subscribe to Golden Wise Elders. Every week we bring reminders that your worth does not depend on how hard you try to be loved. You already are. And the people who matter, they'll walk with you, not ahead of you, not behind, but right beside you, at your pace, with your heart. Peace isn't found in the past. It's chosen in the present. Number 6 thing I want to tell you. The lazier you are about clinging to regret, the more your heart can finally breathe. By now, you may have noticed a theme in all we've shared. Letting go, not of effort, but of the things that quietly pull you away from peace. And there's one thing more than any other that haunts the quiet moments of aging. Regret. It comes in fragments. A marriage that ended too soon. A word spoken in anger. A dream never pursued. A loved one you didn't call back. For Helen, 84, from Michigan, regret was her nightly visitor. She lost her husband in an argument. He passed from a heart attack just a day after they fought about something trivial. For years, she carried the weight of that last moment. She punished herself with silence. Her sleep suffered. Her memory dimmed. Her laughter faded. But here's what neuroscience tells us. When we dwell on regret, our brain enters a cycle of rumination, a loop of rethinking, replaying, reliving. Dr. Daniel Levitine from McGill University explains that for older adults, this loop not only deepens sadness, but accelerates cognitive decline. Worse, regret fuels chronic cortisol production, the body's stress hormone. Elevated cortisol has been linked to inflammation, memory loss, and even immune suppression. What lives in the mind soon finds a home in the body, but there's hope. Helen's breakthrough came not in therapy, but in kindness. One day, she sat with her granddaughter and said aloud, "I wish I had said I was sorry." And the little girl, only 11, looked up and said, "But Grandpa already knew you loved him." Sometimes the words we didn't get to say were still heard in how we lived. Over the next 3 months, Helen began journaling her memories, lighting a candle each night, not to mourn, but to forgive. And slowly her mind cleared. She started remembering things she thought were lost forever. Her doctor noted measurable improvement in her recall and focus, all because she gave herself permission to stop looking back. Regret is heavy, but it only keeps its grip when we keep holding on. So today, if your heart still aches for something you did or didn't do, ask yourself this: what if you gave yourself the same compassion you'd offer your best friend? What if your story isn't ruined, just still unfolding? If that feels true for you, take one step toward peace by commenting below, "I'm ready to forgive the past." And if you believe this message can comfort someone else, click like. It might bring light to someone in a dark place. Share it with someone who still carries too much. And if you haven't already, join us here by subscribing to Golden Wise Elders, a place where every story, even the unfinished ones, still matter. Because you deserve peace, not someday, but now. And maybe after all these lessons, we come back to something simple, that life at its best isn't what we fix, but what we free. So my friend, we've come a long way together in this quiet conversation. Today we uncovered 6 ways in which being a little lazier, a little less forceful, a little more forgiving can bring us closer to peace, clarity, and joy in our later years. We talked about letting go of control, releasing regret, living for ourselves instead of through the eyes of others, and maybe hardest of all, learning to stop chasing those who don't choose to stay. Each of these isn't about giving up. They're about growing up in the truest, softest, most graceful way. Aging doesn't have to feel like losing something. It can feel like finally arriving at a life where you no longer have to prove anything, where you've earned the right to breathe a little deeper, love a little wiser, and smile a little more easily. So here's my gentle advice, offered with care, not command. Give yourself permission to live light, to be softer with yourself, to stop rushing, fixing, apologizing, chasing, and instead sit with yourself and be enough. If this message has touched something in you, even just a little, I invite you to do one small thing before you go. Leave a comment below, just one sentence. Tell me what part of this video stayed with you, or simply type, "I choose peace." And if you think someone you love might need this message too, please feel free to share it with them. It may be exactly what their heart needs right now. If you found this helpful, tap the like button. It helps more people find their way to us. And if you haven't yet, I warmly invite you to subscribe to Golden Wise Elders, and don't forget to hit the bell so you'll be gently reminded when our next story is ready. Thank you for spending your time, your thoughts, and your heart here today. Until next time, take care of yourself, because you are worthy of a beautiful, peaceful, joyful life exactly as you are. We'll meet again soon.